Maggie, I'm trying to keep upbeat about this. I grew up going in pubs. My whole family's life, business was in pubs. I'm a huge fan of pubs. Must be my Irish blood, I guess. We're really losing something, aren't we, when 7,000 boozers have closed down in England and Wales alone over the last 10 years?
Yes, we really are, because at the end of the day, like you've stated, we are the lifeblood. You know, it's a community, and I know that the community we have here, it would be a real loss if any of our pubs in this village had to close, because they really mean something to people. But on the other hand, how long can we keep going with the raise in prices?
Maggie, tell us about your energy bill. I mean, I should be asking you about, you know, the lovely ales you've got, the new food range that you've got, what you're trying to do for your customers to build that business that I know you love. I have to ask you, though, about how much energy, how much money you're going to be spending on your energy bill this coming autumn and how it compares to this time last year.
Well, from this time last year, my energy bill for just gas and electricity was £1,800 a month, which is quite steep anyway for any business. But it's now £3,100 I'm paying a month. So it's already hiked up. And as you say, we don't have the benefit of the energy cap. We don't have it as a business. Where what are people fighting for at the moment? We just don't have that. So where on earth are we going to get these funds from without upsetting the clientele?
$3,500 before you start, 20% VAT on top of that. You can get some of that back as a rebate, but you still got to find the cash to pay it in the first place, right? That's a big amount of money. Clive Watson, you're founder of the City Pub Group. You've got 48 pubs across the southwest. Now, here on The Money, we cover pubs a lot, and I would say that during lockdown, quite a lot of the big breweries, they did right by their landlords. They stood by them. They gave them a squeeze, if you like, on their rent and their other expenses. Don't the big breweries have to step up now? Because in reality, isn't what landlords are about to go through, you know, in many ways, it's as bad as lockdown.
Yeah, that's right. I think, to be fair to the brewers, they did give a lot of assistance to their tenants during COVID. And they are struggling as well. Brewers tend to lease pubs to tenants, but they also have their own pubs, the managed pubs. So they will be facing swinging increases in their own energy costs. And also on the brewing side, they'll be facing swinging increases to actually brew the beer. So I think this has got to be government-led, not sort of sorted out by the brewers themselves.
What do we lose, Clive, when we lose our pubs, when we lose those nerve centres of our towns, when we lose those focal points for so many of our rural communities?
We lose everything because there's nowhere else to go. No one goes to church anymore. A lot of youth clubs have been closed down. Working men's clubs closed down a lot during the smoking ban. The pub is probably the last bastion of people from any parts of the community can walk into a place in a social environment where there's community activity, quiz nights, bingo nights, whatever it is. And if we lose the pub, a restaurant doesn't cut it. A restaurant isn't the same as a pub. You know, go to a pub, you can have a good evening for £10, a couple of pints, see your mates. A restaurant is a much more expensive occasion. So we lose the pub, we lose the lifeblood of the community that pub's in.
There is something special about British pubs, isn't there, Jasmine? And we are really in danger here. I mean, whatever we think about the breweries, and we can have a long debate. I mean, I agree with Clive. I do think a lot of the breweries did step up. I've also had many emails from landlords who feel that their breweries have ruined them. On the other hand, if we lose those pubs, there is, as the brewers say, serious and irreversible damage done to communities.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I am a lifelong teetotaler, but as you say, I do go into pubs as well. So, you know, even teetotalers, I mean, there are some fantastic gastro pubs. And I've been into ones, as you say, in very small rural communities where they are essentially the community centre. I mean, they literally have stuff from the local council there and all sorts of help, and very much for families as well. So we do lose a family centre. So there is an argument, certainly, that government ought to be supporting it for the families, for community, and certainly local councils. But I do think, as you say, that actually breweries could do more. I think they have more slack. They have generally higher profit margins, than the actual pubs themselves.
Do you think there's something in that, Clive? We're not here to have a go at the breweries in particular, but many landlords do. They don't want to speak out about it. Obviously, it's a very important relationship. Could some of the breweries do more during this particularly difficult episode? After all, a lot of the breweries are sitting on often very valuable real estate, aren't they, in the form of the pubs? They can borrow against that if they need to. The landlords can't do that.
Look, I'm not a brewer, so I'm hopefully impartial on this, but breweries are facing huge costs, and they need that land that you say to brew their beer from. That's their heritage. So they're facing massive costs as well. So, yeah, they could probably do a little bit more at the margin, but we are talking about energy costs going up 300 to 400%. For the tenant, the person who's earning 30, 40k a year from their business, and their energy bills were, say, 15 before, it's been wiped out by energy costs alone, let alone food inflation and other things. This is a big issue. We're in an economic war for Ukraine, and in a war situation, you need governments to intervene to support various industries.
Clive's hit the nail on the head there, hasn't he, Maggie? You're not only facing spiralling energy bills, the price of wheat, the price of barley, the price of hops, the price of the energy needed to brew the beer. Your beer costs are going up as well. To what extent are you able to pass those cost increases on to protect the tiny margins that many landlords make, Maggie?
Well, there's only so much you can pass on without alienating customers from coming in altogether. You know, if I had to put up my beer to the amount just the cooking oil has gone up, we would be talking £15 for a pint. And nobody's going to pay that. You know, they're not going to come out and enjoy an evening. It's not going to be a cheap evening. And like Clive said, they are the hub. But there's only so much that the community can support you with your quiz nights and everything else. It becomes an expensive night. And as Clive said as well, you've got your food costs, you've got your transportation, you've got the fuel costs. It's all adding up. I do believe the government should do more. And although I did get help in lockdown from the brewers, I really feel it's the government's time to step in now, because we really need this. Otherwise, we're going to lose a lifeblood.
I think it is fair to say that a lot of the brewers did do quite a lot for their landlords, didn't they? They did a lot more than they were contractually obliged to do. They weren't contractually obliged to do much at all. But what can government now do? Because it's not just VAT, and of course you can get that back, but it's the cash flow on that. It's not just sky-high energy bills. It's not just sky-high beer costs and food costs. It's also business rates we haven't mentioned on top of that. And now, unless, if Rishi Sunak gets his way, a corporation tax increase too. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it is a number of different things that need to be done, and they're all to do with cutting. Even though we have massive debt in this country, massive government debt, I think we do need to cut the VAT on gas. We need to stop the green levy. That would bring down prices enormously of
electricity. Yeah,
absolutely. I think we do need to cut down. And last time I was on this programme, we were talking about cutting the duty on fuel.
Yeah.
That would help. As you say, business rates need to come down. Definitely corporation tax, forget that. This really, it's a number of different measures that would help businesses and individuals. And I think we have to do it if we're going to keep the economy going, as we seem to be going into a time of recession and possibly even depression.
Let's give the last word to Clive Watson of City Pub Group. Clive, what do you think? You support this idea of a package of assistance. What particular form do you think the package should take? So if the taxpayer is helping, if the government is helping, we get the best bang for our collective buck to keep those local pubs open.
Well, look, it's got to be urgent. It's got to be immediate. The obvious one, for the pub businesses, cutting or not having the rise in corporation tax that benefit's not going to really help for at least a year. A lot of pubs won't be paying corporation tax. So immediate effect, cut VAT from 20% to 15% minimum. That will help pubs cash flow immediately, enable them to get through Christmas and out the other side. Corporation tax, avoid not having that hike coming in next April, won't make any difference whatsoever.